So let's just, I'm going to probably change the top of the head here a little bit and push it up a little bit further. When I was getting my feel for it, I probably got it a little bit short. Now, remember that these lines cannot represent the light hair. We're going to take care of that in just a minute. If any of you remember why, and we're going to use that brush to cast some value in the light areas, the lightest hair, and then we will be able to take and reverse out the hair, because right now we're actually creating a negative. It may look okay to a degree because we're so used to seeing hair like this when somebody's drawing it, but the white spaces, we need to be able to communicate that those are highlights and not the spaces. If we get to working on hair often, we'll work on it more and more and more because we know there's something wrong, and it's basically because we keep trying to draw the hair, which we want to do to a degree, but then we find that there's something wrong, and that subtle fact that there's a conflict, a contradiction. You don't want these to look like they're spaces and we're looking down into the scalp. We don't want these to be spaces and have it look like, well, why isn't there a shadow? Why isn't it darker where there's less light? So, okay, let's come in here and do this. We've got that 2B working in our favor. We've got some extra lead, an extra graphite. And you can just play with this as much as you want. Remember, I can brush this thing without losing my texture because it is a defined texture. It is something that is coarse enough to hold up to this and keep that character of the hair, even though I am coming in here and creating a tone in the lightest parts, and I'm softening up the darkest parts. So we don't have a terrible amount of contrast. Now it gives me an opportunity to go back in and be in more control as to where I'm going to have it lighter and darker. But this is wonderful. I will come in after I get finished with my 2B, and I'll do quite a bit of work with my other pencils. I touch things up, maybe cast a little bit of texture in some of the light areas with my 4H. I will come in and do a lot of that kind of thing. But what I want to do right now is I want to show that there's something in between. So let's pick out a spot. Let's come in here and take a clean edge, create a V, and make sure that in between is a little bit darker. And I kind of goofed that up, but I want to make sure they're clean. It's amazing what our minds will pick up on. And this is just the first layer, but I want to have a taper at this end too, so that I can show that the space is closing up a little bit as the hair fans out. And it gives me an opportunity to show that it's darker here than it is out here. So let's just create a few of those. I hope I can communicate this okay. I think if you've been paying attention to the other classes up to this time, you'll start seeing the correlation here and having an opportunity to quickly reverse that feeling like, oh, those lines aren't for hair, is it? They're really the spaces. It'll suggest the texture too. But let's come up here and maybe create just a couple more spaces where we're peeking down through the hair, gliding on. Am I up in the camera? Let's go ahead and create a few of those. These have to have clean edges though. That's why I'm coming in here and I'm being very careful. I want to start creating some of those clean edges because we can't go past anything that doesn't have a clean edge. And I think that's one of the things that it happens to everybody. You have to get through this stage of understanding the principles and see how important they are. But the hair that came in for the assignments, a lot of it's the edges are very soft. As soon as you do that, you're going to end up by having everything joined together, and you're no longer going to have the opportunity for separation to create the kind of depth you want to have. So, and as I do more of these, it adds a little bit more value, a little bit more graphite in there. And I have an opportunity again to brush that. And then I'm going to go to my eraser and I'm going to start working from the other end. I'm going to start making sure that that depth, that negative is being undone by creating highlights. And it'll become clearer and clearer to your mind what is what.